ICU, what's up? How do I sound? Radical leftist agenda, what's up? Josh Davis, what's up, fam? How do I sound? Do I sound good? All right, let me click go live here on Rockfin. Oh, great morning, guys. Great morning. I'm glad to be here with you guys. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, so let's start by like before we get started with anything, like I'll answer like whatever questions you guys have, like you want to ask me. If you want me to react to anything, I'll react to it. I just want to say free Commander X. I've had on Steve and Glory, Steve Poikonen and Glory Jones from Slow News Day to talk about Commander X, what he's done for the community. Like some people ask, like, what has Commander X done in order to benefit the masses? Commander X has helped a lot of homeless people. He was called a homeless hacker. For example, he's worked with Keith McHenry, who's here right here, who's here. He was in the live stream yesterday with Slow News Day. Like the court hearing was yesterday. So I just wanted to get that message out there. You guys can go ahead and follow and subscribe to Slow News Day for more information on that. Steve and Glory know more about that, but pretty much he's exposed war crimes. He's exposed a lot of corruption that our oligarchy has done. I mean, that's helping out the masses. He stood up for Julian Assange. Without a free press, how can people know about the truth about what's happening in this country, what the country is doing with your taxpayer money, how our country is killing other people in other countries? Like it's pretty much like you can go out into the street, you can film police brutality, like how somebody filmed that cop that was stepping on George Floyd, putting his kneecap on George Floyd's neck, and then expose that to the masses. That's pretty similar to what people like Julian Assange and all these hacktivists do. They expose the truth with hard evidence about what our country does, what the military-industrial complex does. So to me, that's a heroic act. People who film, what's going, like people being tortured, like other working class people being tortured, people in other country who are innocent when they're being killed by other people like that. That's hero work. And when we say like we are Julian Assange, it's because like you have the capacity, the potential to do that too. If you have a phone, if you have a camera, you can do stuff like that. You can interview people and talk about like what they're going through, like how they're inundated with that, how they became homeless, etc., etc. So I just wanted to put that message out there. Slow News Day guy looks so much like my son that it just amazes me every time I watch him. Does he talk like him too? Steve is so funny, man. He's a very talkative guy. I love talking to that guy. We have great conversations together. He's a funny dude. He hangs out with his audience members, which I think is something that every content creator should do. Like you want to get some input from your audience members and not be arrogant and think that you know more than them and that you're too good to hang out with them. No, it shouldn't be like that. Like your audience helps you out so much, and they can put an eye out on certain blind spots that you may have. Like they keep you in check. And I'm thankful to people like Josh Davis, who's honest with me, Anthony Reyes, like even other content creators like Yelbro, my colleagues over at the MCSC network. We keep each other in check. Indie Left News, thank you very much. Said support Franco's GoFundMe so he can get a new desktop computer. I was just about to get into that, and I really appreciate you bringing that up, Indie Left. Yes, so I've been working with the same laptop for over a year now. Like ever since I started, without knowing I would get this far, without knowing I would ever grow. I was just using this, small little Windows laptop to stream. Like I would use my phone to just like record myself, like this phone right here. Now I'm using like an actual like webcam, but yeah, I was just using a laptop, and I'd record myself on my phone. Like there's old videos of me like on like in like my college campus, just like talking about the latest news. The difference between me and a lot of these other people like TYT, like Sam Cedar, and even some other like up and coming independent channels. I didn't have the same opportunities as they did to, yeah, I didn't have the resources. I didn't have all these advantages that they had. I don't have rich parents. I only have one that's still alive. So there's more of an uphill battle for channels like mine. But so channels like Nico's, when he would like just like film himself in his car, like that's like an inspiration for me. It's like, oh, really? You can just start out by just doing that. Just like have your phone and record yourself and just, just talk about what's happening in the news, talk about the truth, and that's attractive enough. So yeah, there's no way I can do it without you guys. And I'm really appreciative of all the help that you guys have done. People like Independent Left News, and people like Roar Media who have helped me out with the tech stuff. Reef from KRTD Media. I really appreciate you guys, man. You have no idea. Christine Park, a lot of Steve's movements are the same too, but a few are not. Like similar mannerisms and all that. It's scary sometimes when you see some people who are just identical to other people that you know. Um, I've definitely had that experience where I'm like, oh my God, that guy moves just like, has the similar mannerisms as like someone I know. It's scary when I have one uncle who's like identical to my dad, and my dad passed away now. It's 8 years. It was in 2013, and I wasn't as I didn't notice how similar one of my uncles was to him. And it would freak me out. I was like, what the heck? It was like seeing my dad come back to life, seeing the way like that my uncle would move, like his mannerisms, the way that he'd talk, the way that if you just like glance for a second, it looked like my dad. It was scary. But people say the same thing about me and my dad. They're like, they're like, is that him? Oh snap, we got Prop in the house. Thank you, Ronwell. I really appreciate that, man. I really appreciate that. Prop, I heard you went a little crazy yesterday. You're having a lot of fun yesterday in independent indie left media's Discord. One second, guys. There is something I wanted to talk about. So yeah, I want to pull this article up. I thought that it's something that we should look into more. This is from, I'm looking it up. If I don't pull it up, I'll definitely refer it to you guys. So Seb Solomon is also known as Red Sea Socialist. I've had her on the show before. She's been following my show also for a while now. I've had her on to talk about Ethiopia and Eritrea. We had a great discussion, and it's something I should talk about more. I shouldn't just stop there. But here's a really interesting article I really recommend for you guys to check out. And I listened to an interview that she had on Black Power Media, and it was really eye-opening because there are some things that we are not told about blockchain, and we think it's such a great thing just because it's a way that we can opt out of the system. An argument that people like Derek Bros and Ryan Christian of The Last American Vagabond and Whitney Webb is that, yeah, there are ways that it can be corrupted, but I mean, it's still a tool that we use, just like money, like hard paper money. Like we still have to rely on that. And it's a tool that we can use. Like we can use money to do bad things, but we can also use money to do good things. But I just want to show you guys a little bit about what she wrote here. Again, shout out to Seb Solomon. So this is on her Medium account. It's at solartsunami.medium.com. Blockchain technology and coercive surveillance of the global south. Blockchain proof of work versus proof of stake. There should be a distinction made between proof of work versus proof of stake when discussing blockchain and cryptocurrency. Bitcoin, Pirate Chain, and Monero are examples of proof of work. Ethereum is also currently proof of work, but it is moving to the proof of stake model with Ethereum 2.0 by 2022. To critics of this move, Ethereum responded by implementing sharding, which is the partitioning of bulky databases into manageable chunks or shards horizontally, as a measure to combat centralization. Sadly, Bitcoin does not have the layers of protection present in the... this is another article here that she has about Bitcoin. Let me see, where do I click to read? Okay, read more. All right, so sadly, Bitcoin does not have the layers of protection present in the Pirate Chain and Monero system. Pirate Chain uses ZK snarks or zero knowledge section non-interactive argument of knowledge, meaning only people to whom the transaction pertains will have access to the information on the transaction. Monero users are protected by the ring CT signature and stealth address, which sends transactions to a single-use address that will come up as non-existent should anyone attempt to search for who was receiving that transaction. The second type of blockchain technology operates within the confines of proof of stake model and is popular among multinational tech giants such as Cardano. ADA is essentially a surveillance coin. Cardano openly states that unlike other crypto projects, the goal of Cardano team isn't to overbowl the entire financial system. Their aim is to use blockchain technology to bring banking systems to places where they've previously been too expensive to implement, specifically the developing world. While proof of work models position all nodes on the network equally, proof of stake models depend on how much of a cryptocurrency a node or validator already owns and puts at stake. In summary, the more stake a validator possesses, the more likely they are to be elected slot leader. A slot leader is similar to a Bitcoin miner, except they are elected by stakeholders with the most stake on the network. Lastly, the proof of stake model is less decentralized and less secure, thus more susceptible to cyber attacks. And she goes on to talk about how they're taking advantage of some of these countries in the global south. Specifically, what she wrote about here is on Africa. So Africa vassal states, digital ID in Silicon Valley. From Kigali Innovation City in Rwanda, Silicon Savannah in Kenya to Sheba Valley in Ethiopia, the Silicon Valley technocrats are well entrenched in Africa. A notable similarity among the governments in Rwanda, Kenya, and Ethiopia is that they have all been compliant vassal states to multinational business interests for many years. Ethiopia especially has only recently slightly diverted. For instance, newly revealed evidence shows that Rwanda President Paul Kagame's forces killed hundreds of thousands of Hutus. The other side of the Rwanda genocide has been accused of murdering political opponents and supported rebel groups in the Democratic Republic of Congo who are accused of crimes against humanity. Despite all those documented transgressions, Bill Clinton has referred to Kagame as the greatest leader of our time, and foreign governments, notably the United States, Britain, Germany, and the Netherlands, are lining up at Kagame's door with praise and money. The United States is Kagame's most faithful ally and proponent because Rwanda is a critical partner with a robust army in mineral-rich East Africa. Likewise, President Kenyatta of Kenya works closely with AFRICOM to fight Al-Shabaab in Somalia at the behest of NATO and its war on terror. And how could anyone forget Mil Zenawi and the 27 years of TPLF rule in Ethiopia, a country which received copious amounts of US military funding after it became an early member of the coalition of the willing and close ally of the United States in the global war on terror. The war on terror in the Horn of Africa was really an operation to destabilize Somalia because it became hostile to US geostrategic interests after the Islamic Courts Union took power in 2006. And I just want to add, Somalia is a country that just got bombed yesterday by the Biden administration. And this is just what happens to countries who try to resist US power, countries that don't have the puppet that the US wants. I mean, Sebs did an incredible job here listing all these countries that have US puppets, all these countries in Africa that are doing the bidding of the US and its organizations like AFRICOM and NATO. So if we see like some ties here with some of these people behind blockchain and crypto, and these puppets or these organizations that work at the behest of the United States and these Western powers, then that's alarming. That's something that we should be really cautious of. And I just want to read just a little bit more, and then we can check some other stuff out. But great article, Sebs. I'd love to have you on to talk more about this, because I had no idea. And I also want to give a shout out to Jack Sith, because I believe he also helped you out with this stuff. And that's also a conversation I'd love to have with him. So she says, UNICEF, Cardano, Ben Gortzel, and Jeffrey Epstein. UNICEF Innovation Fund came to fruition as a result of a partnership with UNICEF and Singularity University, establishing an innovation lab at the university campus. A large chunk of the funding came from Disney and the government of Denmark. Ben Gortzel, CEO of Singularity NET, is an advisor to Singularity University in Irvine and ICOG Labs based out of Sheba Valley in Ethiopia. Furthermore, Gortzel is in the process of migrating Singularity NET from Ethereum to Cardano. And coincidentally, Cardano is currently registering the identities of 5 million school children on blockchain in Ethiopia. All right, let me check on the chat to make sure everything's cool here. The integration of Cardano and Singularity NET enabled by the Cardano Pluta smart contract framework has worrisome implications concerning the data collected from those children in Ethiopia and whether it will be used to feed the OpenCog Hyperon, located in Sheba Valley, that will help serve robots like Sophia, built by David Hansen and Gortzel, Hansen Robotics. In 2017, Ben Gortzel explained SingularityNet as a decentralized open market for AI in the cloud that anyone who develops on an AI can put it into the SingularityNet, wrap it in the cryptocurrency-based smart contract, and then the AI can help to serve the intelligence of robots like Sophia or software programs that need AI. In addition, the Jeffrey Epstein Jeffrey Epstein IV Foundation, helped fund the OpenCog AI lab in Sitskilo, Ethiopia, the same OpenCog associated with Ben Gortzel and ICOG Labs. The data of 5 million Ethiopian children registered to the Cardano blockchain, which merged with SingularityNet, will help serve the intelligence of robots developed in labs funded and operated by people linked with Jeffrey Epstein, a convicted pedophile. Any healthy and critically thinking person who sees these connections should be outraged and alarmed. I mean, they allow all these creepy people, I don't know what else to call them, these creepy elites, to get their hands in these countries that are poor, that are suffering, and rather than to prioritize on giving these people the things that they need, like clean water, food, healthy food at that, or giving them electricity, giving them a better education, rather than doing that and investing and helping those people, they're investing in installing these like AIs in these countries. This is really alarming. I'm gonna post this in the chat for you guys to check out, because I think it's really important for you guys to check that out. Great research by Sebs. Anthony, what's up, man? The creator of Cardano, Charles Hoskinson, does YouTube live streams every now and then, and Big Prey is a channel that promotes it too. Should troll them. Hey, get on it, guys. If you guys want to go troll those guys, I'm not gonna stop you guys. Prop, do your thing, man. I know you have fun doing that. What's up? Ali Alexander says, AKA Africa remains a testing ground once more. Exactly. And then they're able to do it in these countries that have these puppet leaders. Just like in South America, they use Chile, where they have their puppet leaders there. Where the US has their puppet leaders, in Colombia. And all these neoliberal countries. Everywhere where the US has their puppets in, they use that as a testing ground. And they use the working class people there as the lab rats. What's up, Colin said, this is where the idea of nuance comes in. A lot of people I know love Kagame, and I understand why, given what he has done in the country. At the same time, Kagame is playing both sides. Yeah, I don't know too much about Kagame. We could have that discussion with like Sebs, who knows more about that. And Colin, man, I'd love to have you back on the show. Oh shit, we got Steve in the chat. What's up, Steve? Steve from Seoul Newsday. I was just telling everybody about Commander X and how important that issue is and how he's helped the masses, and to check out your channel for coverage on the case that's happening right now with him. All right, let's see what we got. Checking Rockfin right now. Joel Smith and Hamza. Great to see you guys over there at Rockfin. Yeah, that's certainly something I want to explore more. Some of the stuff that Sebs was writing there. Not a lot of people are talking about that. A lot of people are seeing blockchain as a way out. It could still be, but I mean, if we're seeing all this shadiness happen, we really got to be wary of that. And we need to read the work of people who are reporting on this stuff, or whistleblowers from these organizations, and hear what they have to say. All right, so we talked about Commander X. We talked about Seb's article. Um, any advice for Colin? Any advice for Colin on what? Oh, speaking of hope to premiere my channel next Wednesday. Any advice? Just interact with your audience. Interact with them. Like when they, since you're just now starting, you have plenty of time and opportunity to reply to what everybody says. So you can just like reply to them. Just have fun forming that community. Eventually, I'm sure you're probably gonna have a Discord where you can interact with them even more. Not you already have a lot of experience with that, Con. I think you'll do great, man. You're already interacting with a community. So are you going to be live streaming, or are you recording and then uploading the video? Either way, like people will comment, and I'm sure you'll do a great job being fair with people and commenting and replying. I look forward to that, man. I look forward to seeing your channel, Colin. You should drop it down in the chat so that people can subscribe to it. I'm gonna go ahead and look for it too right now. I'm already subscribed. I'm subscribed to your channel on Frank Analysis and on my personal channel. I mean, yeah, my personal account. Yeah, I'm looking for your channel. All right, Edwin, you brought up something that I was just about to talk about, man. Did you see Vanguard meltdown over Jimmy's criticisms? I heard about it. I have not seen it yet, but that is something I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to live react with you guys. But before I get to that, I just want to say, no one is above criticism, but there's a special way you can go about it, and with certain people, and it has to be fair, and we also have to be careful we're not indoctrinating ourselves into any cultish behavior. And this is something that Ali warned about in her letter, which I was also about to read to you guys right now. So what I want to do is I want to read this letter that Ali Alexandra wrote about, it was a letter to Jimmy Dore, and it's also to Jimmy Dore's fans. And you guys have to be open to hearing it out. All right. And I'll be like commenting on it as we read along. But look, I've criticized Jimmy Dore on this channel. It doesn't mean I dislike Jimmy Dore. It doesn't mean I don't admire what he does. And one time, like I made a video while I was live streaming, and then I said I was talking about what happened with the situation with him and Anna, and I was saying that I was pretty much saying that I think he took it a little bit too far, where he was giving too many excuses about why he did it. And then later, after that live stream, just like a couple minutes after I finished the live stream, I got an email from him, and he was like, "Hey pal, could you give me a call?" So I call him, and he was just pretty much telling me everything that I've heard already, like on his show, about the situation. And I was like, yeah, I agree with you. I'm 100% with you. But the only thing I'm saying is that as you gave us a bit too much information than we should have received. Like when he was I understand why he was doing it. And like I realized this after, like he was on his show talking about the whole situation, about what happened, so we can understand what he felt in his shoes and what he was seeing. Like he was trying to bring us there and to experience that situation with him. so we can understand why he said what he said. But even a lot of his really hardcore fans who I have like on my Discord when we had a voice call, even some of them were agreeing that he did a little bit too much, where it's like to the point where it's like a little bit unnecessary to give some graphic details about the situation. Like we're already on board with him, we're already like agree with him. Just adding that little bit of graphic detail. All right, can you guys hear me? And he changed his tune a bit, like when he came on, because he actually heard me out when I talked to him on the phone. Because remember, he was like, he didn't give that extra detail when he was on my show, and he said I should have said it on my show how I just said it here to you. So to me, that showed that he can take criticism, he can reflect on it, and he can implement some of that. But there's like a special way to do it. Like if you come at it at a way where you make him feel like you're an enemy to him rather than a friend to him, then he's not going to take it well. And this is this, like we also have to consider what he's experienced with all these backstabbers that he's had to deal with in his life, like all these people in LA, like TYT. Like he thought that these people were friends, like they were so close, they were like family, and now look at how they're treating him. Look at like they're siding with the mainstream media in these attacks and smears towards Jimmy Dore. Not only that, but he used to be very kind and would have the back of people like Kyle Kalinske, of David Dole, and Mike Figueredo, despite disagreements. He disagreed with Kyle on the strategy going forward. Like Kyle still believed in he believed in the Justice Democrats as the best way forward, while Jimmy believed in MPP as the best way forward. Mike Figueredo, I mean, the disagreements there with Jimmy Dore and Mike Figueredo are obvious. But before Forced to Vote and all that, like they were fine with each other. David Dole, he had David Dole on to debate about whether voting for Biden is the best thing to do if he wins the primary. That was like a year before the live stream was like a year before Biden won the primaries, and then they had that debate. He'd even show like video clips of like David Dole on his show, or show video clips of David Dole on his live shows. Like he was nice to these people despite disagreements. Like it's possible to still be friends with people despite having disagreements. But then they all started coming at him after Forced to Vote, even though the three people I mentioned, aside from not including TYT, Kyle, Mike, and David, they agreed with Forced to Vote. But they were I guess they thought that Jimmy crossed the line for calling out politicians that aren't doing their job, aren't fulfilling their promises. And these were people that had smaller channels than him at the time. I don't know about Kyle, but Mike and David had smaller channels, and Jimmy would help try to prop them up by giving them shout outs and stuff. So, and then not to mention like Tim Black, I don't know too much about his situation with Abby Martin. He used to have her on more. And I don't know if there was any conflict between them when he endorsed Tulsi Gabbard. But yeah, just it wouldn't surprise me if he feels so disappointed now. It's like, oh man, here I tried to help another small channel with the Vanguard, and now they're like turning on me, getting all like, from what I heard, getting all aggressive like on the camera and their criticisms towards Jimmy, which I'll live react to it. But I mean, Ali Alexander, she brings up really fair criticism. She says, Jimbo, I think my biggest thing with Jimbo is that he's signing on to organizations without really paying attention to what's happening inside. Yeah, it's a fair thing to bring up, like with MPP and the way that they treat their like their volunteers, like the people who make these are the people that make the organization, that are supposed to make it successful. And I mean, I've talked about it ad nauseum here on this channel when I had some of the ex-volunteers and the petitioners on this show. And it's not like I was only being one-sided either. I had on people who are still in MPP, who, and to this day are still in MPP. And we talked about it from their side, like what they saw and everything. So if you're not familiar, you can check out those old videos. Joe Nice. Well, hey, what's up, DJ Joe Nice? I gotta have you back on soon. Here's a thought. Maybe be careful with people who lick your asshole on the sole reason you have a popular channel. Fuck, man. Why are people so fucking dumb? Steve. Steve gives the truth in a really harsh way, and I give the truth in a really nice way. We're like a good cop, bad cop. Yeah, I'm about to read this article real quick. Your letter, Ali. I'm about to pull it up. All right, so it's called Dear Jimmy Part 2. There was a Part 1. And she says, I don't actually expect Jimmy Dore to read this. I'm just some chick in Chicago. I'm also not clutching my pearls. I'm just telling you what the yes men around him won't say. And Ali's had her article feature on the Jimmy Dore show, so they have plenty of agreements. If Jimmy was able to bring her article up, where she was exposing the DSA, so Ali says, thank you all to all of the people I'm lucky enough to call friends and colleagues for the insight you've given me. So yeah, she's okay. When I write, my goal is to channel the voices of everyday people who are just trying to make the world a better place. I'm fortunate enough to not be surrounded by a bunch of yes men. So thanks to those of you who reminded me why I wanted to write the original article in the first place. I didn't even realize I'd briefly fallen under the Jimmy Dore spell that I've seen so many smaller independent journalists, content creators, and audience members fall under. I'm not here to hero worship. And no one is above criticism, not even Jimmy Dore. And this right here, the hero worshipping thing, this is something Jimmy Dore agrees with, and all of you, everybody who's a fan of Jimmy Dore agrees with. If he's the guy that calls out people like politicians that are hero worshipped. Barack Obama is hero worshipped. AOC was hero worshipped. Bernie Sanders was hero worshipped, and he called all those people out. So we have to also apply that same thing to content creators like Jimmy Dore. And this is not to say that all of you guys are hero worshipping, but I'm sure you can all acknowledge how some people can fall privy to that. And we got to be careful for that, because then that leads to sycophantism and to blindness. Nobody is going to be perfect. But yeah, if it warrants defense, then Jimmy Dore should be defended. But Ali's just pointing out some stuff that a lot of people may not be seeing. I'm not here to try to take down Jimmy Dore, not like little old me could even do that, or divide the left, if anything. I think the left is doing a fine job of dividing itself on its own. I do always welcome feedback. Having said that, I understand the need to limit one's personal feelings when it comes to reporting. But I find it ironic that my use of emotion in this specific instance will be critiqued. Yet the very same people critiquing are the ones who love Jimmy's emotional authenticity more than anything else. Let's hope I'll be granted the same. Look, Jimmy Dore has every right to defend himself from the smear campaign he's become embroiled in with his former network, the Young Turks. I agree, and I'm sure all of you guys agree with that. Yet what could have been a simple oops, I screwed up moment has transformed into a lens that nearly every smaller lefty channel is now filtering their information through. Want to talk about an issue? Better check whether Jimmy Dore covered it first. And better yet, did he cover it better than TYT? I wish I were kidding, but that's what we've been seeing for the last 3 weeks. Any type of critique towards Jimmy Dore to his loyal fans now equates to either being a shit lib or siding with TYT. I mean, I'm not, for example, me, guys, like I gave like a criticism of Jimmy Dore in that video where he felt like he had to talk to me on the phone. Before that, I gave some constructive criticism also, and he's still been on my show. And you guys know I hate TYT. And I can tell you for sure Ali hates TYT. Like, we're beyond that. We just Ali's just warning about, the hero worshiping. Don't let that get too far, because we don't want to stray people, important voices like Jimmy Dore off course. So Ali said, I went from thinking Jimmy Dore just wanted to explain himself after the infamous New Skirt segment, but it's gone from bad to worse, leaving most with more questions than answers. Oh, and for the record, it is possible to critique someone without trying to tarnish their name, or as Aaron Mate recently referenced, enable the smear artists by not speaking out against TYT if they don't want to be involved. Really? That sounds reminiscent of George W. Bush's "you're either with us or against us" type of mentality. Look, I understand that being smeared is one of the worst things that can happen to you in any profession, but especially in the journalism community. Having said that, is anyone really pretending that TYT is still a relevant news organization? I'll say they're losing their relevance, but they still have that big following. So if they smear you, and I'm sure you'll agree with this, Ali, then defend yourself. But like Jimmy said in one of his videos, he said he's gonna stop talking about it. Now I'm not gonna tell him like what to do for his channel. Like that's for that. He can make his channel however he wants. I'm just saying that what I would have done is I would have just responded and then just moved on and worked on building my credibility by talking about really important stories that are happening that they're ignoring and that a lot of other channels are ignoring. And he is doing that to some extent, but I would have just left it after revealing all the disgusting things that they've done in their past, like all those videos of them talking about like women's vagina and revenge porn and all that. Like that's just like everything that needed to be said about TYT has been said. Like all their credibility is lost now after that. And then I would have just moved on to focus on helping the people that I care about and on solutions and all that. And I know Jimmy cares about that. I'm just talking about how I would have approached it. All right, where are we at? I'm sorry, but now that we're on day number 20, something like that, I've gotta just say it. Jimmy Dore, Aaron Mate, Max Blumenthal, and the rest of the Gray Zone seem to be doing much better than ever since this all started. Tell me again, are they really victims when they've been smeared by the joke of an organization that is TYT? No, Anna's not a victim, so don't even start. I've been reminded multiple times that TYT was trying to be the Howard Stern show at one point in time, so can someone please tell me how it's surprising in any way that we're seeing these videos of Anna and Cenk talking about Howard Stern-like topics? Do two wrongs make a right? Why won't anyone in Jimmy's circle point this out to him? People can tell me until they're blue in the face that what Jimmy did was justified because of what TYT originally did. and for what Anna tried to pull. But I'm done watching people act like it's normal to blame a woman for her outfit as justification for anything. Do you not see where that logic might lead? We all know Jimmy Dore isn't some creepy sexual harasser, so why is it that hard to admit he screwed up? And that's where like when I made my comments and when I talked to Jimmy, I told him like it's not about Anna at all, because fuck Anna and fuck TYT. It's just about principle. I mean, and he ended up like I said, he reflected on it, and on my show he said, I should have worded it the way that I worded it here. So yeah, responding to the smears, definitely, like he's right on with that. I would have done the same exact thing. But yeah, I think we should listen to women when they talk about things that they do deal with. I'm not talking about Ali. I'm not talking about Anna, because she was definitely weaponizing this. But when they talk about how they have to deal with people blaming them for the things that they wear for receiving sexual harassment, that's something to be taken seriously and listened to. And I give a lot of props to my friend Charles Anderson from the Lone Wolf podcast, who had on Ali Alexandra, and Sebs, whose article we just read previous to this, and Mona Carmona, to talk about how women are blamed for like what they wear and some of these other things that a lot of us men, are not taking seriously. So Ali goes on to say, just my opinion, but I personally don't see why it's necessary for Aaron Mate and Jimmy Dore to suggest that others join them on their very personal crusade against an already failing TYT. Why? Many of us have known TYT was trash for years now, so why is it just now that Jimmy Dore, aside from the Anna incident, is on the crusade to prop up the Gray Zone, Glenn Greenwald, and anyone else who tweets a good word for Jimmy Dore? You've got a lot of different creators and journalists out there who are thirsty for an audience, who've been left feeling disillusioned, disheartened, and most of all, angry. So what was I going to say? Oh, they're like with Forced to Vote, a lot of people were still giving TYT a lot of chances. Like that was a revealing thing for a lot of people. People like myself, a lot of people who watch this channel, a lot of people who watch Nico House and the Combo Couch have been knowing about how useless TYT is and how we need to move on from them since like 2016, 2017. But there's still some people who just woke up just either a couple weeks ago or in January. So every now and then I think we still do need to like pull something up when they do something complete, like really ridiculous. Like if it's something that's really significant, just to wake up a few of those people. But I definitely agree with you, Ali, that we shouldn't be dwelling on that, because the goal is to make TYT irrelevant. So just bring it up and then just move on. What Anna tried to pull was nonsense. Anyone can see that. TYT's numbers are tanking. They've been wrong on far too many issues to even account. And it's clear that Jimmy's success has bothered adults like Anna and Cenk. Are we really surprised she would send him a message like that? Jimmy Dore has every right to defend himself. I've written extensively on the issue of Me Too and how it's destroyed relations with men and women in the workplace. Women who lie about sexual assault discredit the stories and trauma of real women who want to speak out. But Jimmy, for the love of God, would it kill you to just admit that you screwed up without blaming Anna for what she wore? It's never anyone's fault when it comes to taking responsibility for something you say. Anna Kasparian used to dress unbelievably inappropriate for work. I literally okay. I'm not gonna go back into like all that stuff that Jimmy said. But yeah, we all know what was said. But yeah, are you really surprised that people might be offended like that? Yes, I know you're a comedian, but read the room a little bit, eh? You mentioned in your recent interview with my friend and fellow MCSC network content creator Frank Analysis that you felt like Kyle Kalinske was victim blaming. But Jimmy, you sounded reminiscent of someone who blames a victim after being attacked or sexually assaulted. You got mad at Kyle Kalinske for the very same thing you're doing right now, but you're too caught up in your own emotions to see this clearly. And the people around you don't seem like they're intent on telling you anything else other than, yes, get him, Jimmy. I don't think what you said is anything worth worrying over, to be completely honest with you. You're not going to get canceled for making a stupid comment. Yes, I know Anna said she forgave him. But, and I say this with love, are you done talking about yourself yet? I'm not saying this because I want to see you get Me Too'd or canceled. I just want you to understand that many people were critical of the way you framed how the story went down because they expected you to emphasize with some people in your audience who have been told that. In real cases of sexual harassment or assault, it was something about what they were wearing that caused someone else to commit the act. It doesn't mean I think that's what you did, no matter how many people might try to tell you otherwise. Yeah, like I said, like before I started reading this, he was trying to make us understand the situation and why he said what he said, but like I went over and like how he agreed, he just gave a bit too much detail. As far as the skirt incident, I'll leave it at that. I understand that you're from a different generation, Jimmy Dore, but I'm on to the PR tour that you've got going on right now. I'm not mad at you about it. I just question why you're making rounds to all of these smaller channels without actually promoting the channels themselves. If you do share the channel links, that's a big if. You tend to do it after the show is already over. I'm hoping whoever your PR person sees this and starts to promote the channels who have been kind enough to have you come on their show, to have you tell them the same story you've been telling for the last 3 weeks. If you don't extend that courtesy to these smaller channels, are you really being helpful? I don't know what it could be. I would have really liked to have my video shared. I did notice that there were certain videos that were shared like on his Twitter, but it could be that like what I was talking about, David and Mike, and now we see like what Vanguard is doing. He might be afraid of helping some of these channels that are later on going to turn on him. I don't know. These are just guesses. Like I can't put myself really on his head, in his head. I know you mean well. I think we all could agree with that here. Like we definitely see he means well, but it usually goes like this. Jimmy Dore visits a smaller channel who has said something nice about him. Jimmy Dore's audience stops by the channel and floods the comment section. Anyone who questions Jimmy Dore gets called a bot or a TYT simp. The show ends and the audience leaves. They might subscribe, but are they really on board with the creator? Or are they just there to get their Jimmy Dore fix? I love to be wrong on this, so if someone's got a rebuttal, I'm here for it. I saw a lot of people like say that they weren't gonna subscribe to my channel because of the audio issues and the tech issues that I was having. And like I've been saying, like I said in the beginning of this, like I don't have rich parents. I didn't have all these resources and opportunities that a lot of people have. So I had to really work myself from literally like the ground up. my audio's back. The plugin is really loose. But yeah, if those people don't want to help out, oh well, I know there's other people like you that are kind enough that will help out. Cause having good quality audio, having good quality like production and everything is attracted to more people, and they're more likely to subscribe to the channel that way. Um, but yeah, it's upsetting how there are people out there that claim to be for the working class and all that, but then subconsciously they won't support smaller channels that are struggling more than way more than like Jimmy Dore or other content creators that have over 100,000 subscribers, or even some that are up and coming that just had more resources than people like me because of their rich parents. But yeah, guys, I'm really grateful for everybody who donates to me. I'm really grateful to that from the bottom of my heart, and I promise you it'll be worthwhile. Radical Leftist Agenda, I appreciate that donation. And yeah, let's get some. I want to hear like some of the things that Ali's been saying. Oh yeah, Ali said honestly, this article is more for the sycophants. Yeah, and we know there are a lot of them out there, but there's a lot of them who are really, you know, there are a lot of like hardcore Jimmy Dore fans who are more honest and open to criticizing Jimmy Dore. But yeah, there I have seen a lot of Jimmy sycophants out there, and guys, you're being you don't want to be like the people that are sycophants over AOC or Bernie or any politician and apply that to a content creator, because you're being a hypocrite. Um, we shouldn't be hero worshiping anybody, and that doesn't mean that what Jimmy Dore does isn't a good thing. Like, he obviously does good work. We just have to be careful with that, because we don't want anyone that we hero worship to stray off of the wrong path, like we saw with Kyle Kalinske, and like we saw with a lot of these other big content creators that are selling out or are siding with the status quo and TYT. Ali said, I think it's fucking hilarious how upset people get about a guy they've never met. I don't know, it's comical, but I get why people might be upset by this. It's because they see him as a hero, and when their hero gets attacked, they feel like they are personally getting attacked. They put these people who they see as heroes as part of their identity, and so they feel like a part of their identity is getting attacked. But yeah, let's continue. This is a great letter, Ali. I think you did. This is really well thought out. I get that you're being charitable with your time, Jimmy Dore, but again, what good is it to stop by a channel that lets you go off for 60 minutes without answering any tough questions, only for you to continue propping up and hosting the same 4 or 5 journalists on your show? Not to discredit the positives that have come to light thanks to their work, but let's not pretend you'll be bringing on any of the creators you visited over the last 2 weeks anytime soon. I'd love to be wrong, but history shows me otherwise. That might be something to think about. Moreover, do you know the full story of those journalists you constantly bring on, Aaron Mate, Glenn Greenwald to be specific, with respect to how they treated smaller creators? I know some stuff about Aaron that I'm not going to talk about on this show. Glenn Greenwald, what I know is some conflict that he's had with Whitney Webb. I don't know at the top of my head right now. I don't know exactly what the conflict was about. Steve and Ali may know more, who are in the chat. But let me check if my audio is good, because my mic unplugged a couple times. I want to make sure the right mic is being used. Do I sound okay, guys? Oh. Alright, so it's using the wrong mic. That's why I sound like I'm far away, right? All right, my audio sounds good. Do I sound better? Do I sound like I'm closer? Con, I hear you. I see you say that I sound like I'm far away. It was using my cam mic. Okay, cool. All right. Speaking of that, has anyone asked Aaron Mate how he thinks Eva Bartlett and Vanessa Beeley are feeling these days? Why do some journalists get to expose the crimes without a peep, but others are targets? See below. These are valid questions. Yeah. So Vanessa Beeley and Eva Bartlett, when it came to the OPCW report, when it came to exposing the white helmets and how they were a propaganda for Western imperialism, when it came to exposing all the lies, a lot of the lies that the Western mainstream media is doing and manufacturing people's consent about what's happening in Syria, these women, these very intelligent women, became targets, and BBC wanted to start a lawsuit with them off of some bogus charges, even though they were exposing and revealing the truth. I would be. I mean, I've had the honor of having Vanessa Beeley on. I would love to have Eva Bartlett on. I know she's a really busy woman, and she told me she recommended for me to bring on Vanessa again and to bring on Kavork. But I would love to have her on one of these days. But if you have not seen the work of two great female women journalists, check out Eva Bartlett and Vanessa Beeley. They are on the ground in Syria, and then they also travel to other countries and they talk about what's happening. It's not like you just go to the country for like 10 days. No, no, no. They live there. So check them out. They've done a lot, and they deserve more recognition. So Ali goes on to say, and I have to add this: you're frustrated with Kyle and Crystal for ghosting you, but Jimmy, did you not do the same to Whitney Webb? It is what it is, but the lack of consistency is something I have to mention. Sure, you didn't ghost her, but in that situation, I would have almost preferred to have been ghosted rather than replaced last minute. And it sounds like that's what happened. Whitney was scheduled to come on at the last minute. Whitney was scheduled to come on, and at the last minute, you ended up bringing on Aaron Mate instead. Oh, that's yeah. I would feel upset if I was in that situation. If it's true, I don't know. Okay, so Ali links something to that. Oh, it's in the Slow News Day interview. So for just to hear it from Whitney herself, I guess she brings that up here in this interview. So you guys can go hear that for yourselves, and I'll share the link here. So Ali continues to say, I'm getting off topic here, but my main point is that in Jimmy Dore's crusade to bring down TYT, he's fostering a community of people who simply cannot see beyond Jimmy Dore versus TYT lens. That we're not now filtering information through. It's becoming a sin to question the guy, even if you do find him funny, which I typically do. I thought we were all here to get closer to the truth. When you have the guy who claims he's the only one covering topics, which to his credit, he's one of the only comedians who has made such a successful career in independent media space, you have to be a little more willing, in my opinion, to accept some constructive criticism. Another piece of unfinished business that I've been meaning to address. Why won't Jimmy Dore go after Sam Seder? For that, I think that's just a more personal thing. Like Sam Seder is constantly, since 2016, has been attacking Jimmy Dore. he probably feels like, and he says a lot of like really mean and personal things about Jimmy. Both him and Michael Brooks would do that, so he probably felt like he doesn't want to deal with all that stress of going like the back and forth, back and forth. Oh, Jimmy responded to me, so now I gotta make a video. Kind of like what's happening with TYT now, but back then he never had that relationship, that friendship with Sam Cedar like he did with TYT. Jimmy and Sam were more so like acquaintances. So he was just, I guess he just decided to never bring up his name, but hint at him with like call him MSNBC contract and all that. And I know that drives Sam Cedar crazy. So I guess in that way he's making Sam Cedar live in like a hell of not getting acknowledged by the guy he's always talking about on his show. It's funny, but I mean he obviously opposes the things that Sam Cedar talks about, and he calls out that he has an MSNBC contract. We know who he's talking about. I don't know, but maybe he'll come out one day and just like full on expose Sam Cedar and then just let it go. But I don't know. Maybe he's just having too much fun pissing Sam off by not acknowledging him or not bringing up his name. What about guys like Tim Pool or Steven Crowder? With Tim Pool, he wasn't hip. I brought it up on my show when I wasn't hip enough. But now I'm more hip about the kind of State Department talking points that Tim Pool talks about. So I guess the more that's talked about by channels like mine and then more people start becoming aware of it, maybe that'll catch his attention more. But with Steven Crowder, probably sees him as a low-hanging fruit. And I know like people like Anthony Reyes, who's a contributor to the show and been an audience member for a very long time, thinks that these people are dangerous. Like Jimmy Dore shares a lot of overlap with Tim Pool, Steven Crowder. Like a lot of his audience members also watch that, and then Anthony tells me that it's because Jimmy Dore doesn't call out the Republicans enough. I think that's a fair criticism to make. I think Jimmy's just afraid of becoming like these shit lip channels like Mike Figueredo and all them who call out these people and aren't calling out enough like the Democratic politicians who he feels like deserve more criticism. I would call them out when it's significant and relevant. But I think he should do it more. But currently he thinks it's probably a low-hanging fruit. So I guess some people have to point out to him more that he's sharing a lot of overlap with these people, as a lot of them are still thinking that Democrats are bad, so let's vote Republican. A lot of them think that. So out of preventing that from happening, preventing people from just supporting the other evil party, I think, it is important to call that out. I ask because I think someone with a position like the one Jimmy Dore is in leaves room for the takedown of many organizations, not just TYT. Sam Cedar, Tim Pool, Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro, all of them push establishment war propaganda in their own ways. Mm-hmm. Sam Cedar differs from the others that I've mentioned politically. But other than that, they're all quite similar. Why wouldn't you want to demolish as much of the clutter as possible? You already have plenty. You want to demolish as much of the clutter as possible. You already have plenty of Trump supporters on your side. Why not take this opportunity to show them, as you would with any Biden supporter, how they're falling for propaganda? I've heard Jimmy call out the Trump supporters, but he definitely does not do it as much as he calls out like the Democrats. Like not nearly as much. But yeah, he's like, yeah, this is what you get. Like Trump lied to you, blah blah blah. Like I've heard him do that on his show. All right, let me check again with you guys. Does my mic sound good? Just got a text from Indie Left Media said that I sound far away. Mic check, mic check. All right, I'm guessing that was a text that I got from you from Indie Left, like when my mic was set to the far away camera. All right, and then this is the last paragraph that Ali has. I think you mean well, Jimmy Dore. I really do. I think you're so insulated from what's happening on the ground that you might not see the types of people gravitating towards you in your quest for truth. As I mentioned in my previous article, people cling to your every word. You're far more than some jagoff comedian. You may not have wanted to be in this position, but you're here now. It might be time to reevaluate some of the people you're surrounding yourself with and double check before signing on to support an organization like the People's Party without looking into the obvious problems within the group. I'm tired of people letting you get a free pass because they're scared of the angry Jimmy Dore army or being grouped in with TYT, Kyle Kulinski, Mainstream Media Light. All I'm really suggesting is that you and your colleagues come back down to earth for a bit before you accidentally become like the very same people you're fighting against. Cheers, Ali. And that's what I was telling you guys too. Is just we don't want people we don't want people we admire like Jimmy Dore to stray off the path, and that's why constructive criticism is necessary. Um, so yeah, Ali, if you're still here, I would love to hear your thoughts on some of the things I commented about your article. Cat83 says Jimmy doesn't call out Republican Party because he assumes his audience doesn't support them either. It is more about calling out so-called populists, right, like Crowder and Poole. This is the problem. Yeah, and like people who watch Tim Pool and Crowder are like they support Republicans or they vote for Republicans. Like they're Trump supporters. If you're a Trump supporter, you're still in the two-party illusion. And so we want to break everybody out of the two-party illusion, including Republicans. And actually, you're insane to think Sam is pro-war. Him and Garafalo were the only ones taking to the mainstream media to decry the Iraq War. Yeah, but doesn't Sam Cedar also call people that were democratically elected and supported by people brutal dictators? Wasn't he Russia gating, which increases tensions with Russia? Uh, that wasn't. Isn't he still have like a MSNBC contract? Which, if you were truly an anti-imperialist, they wouldn't even let you have a contract with them. You wouldn't even be able to set foot in MSNBC if you had a contract with them. If you were a truly anti-imperialist, they wouldn't let you. Yeah, this thing keeps freaking unplugging. So yeah, Jude just told me that my mic sounds like I'm far away. Guys, do I sound better? Do I sound like I'm using the mic? Buzz, you're losing your patience. What's going on? Want to talk about the Peru mining industry stuff I sent on Discord? Imperialism is still operating by the country's copper being stolen by at least three corporations: BHP, South Copper Corp, and Glencore. Sure, I'll pull that up. Let me hide that. Yeah, I'll pull it up, Fuzz. Oh, and then the article. I want to share with you guys the link to Ali's letter. And I love to have her on the show and talk about it. You guys are saying shit, Mike? Once again, does it sound like I'm using a faraway mic, or does it sound like I'm using this mic? Testing, testing, testing. I sound like I'm in CA. Faraway mic. What about now? Mic check, mic check, mic check. Better? Sounds like I'm bouncing off the. All right, thank you guys. How long was that going, man? Frick. I'm upset that I was talking with like shitty audio for a while. Level is low. Okay, let me put it up. Testing, testing, testing. Testing, testing. Sound good? Awesome. All right. So yeah, Fuzz really wanted me to talk about this. So the Peru mining industry, he sent some information about it, and he's saying that not enough people are talking about it. And I gotta be honest, Fuzz, I don't know too much about this, so there's not much I can say. But I mean, I'll bring up what you sent me. So it says, while definitely a better choice made than Fujimori, the mining industry still operating in Peru can't be forgotten about, in my opinion. The country being the second largest producer of copper is very profiting. A couple of party reps of Castillo have been coming out sounding more and more friendly with private corporations, with nationalizing the industry not really a thing they are thinking about. I know he intends to divert funds from the industry to the masses, but given the statements from some associated with his party, it makes me wonder how he intends to handle himself against his party's leadership on stuff he wants to get passed. If he would have such struggle, I'd say he needs to rely on organizing the people in those hurdles uh, come about. The imperialist plunder of Peru's copper to corporations such as Southern Copper Corp equals $1.4 billion contract given from Peru resulted in protests by farmers and anti-mining activists. And then he links to some articles from the World Socialist, or what is this? WSJ.com. Widespread protests in Arequipa. I believe these were happening back in 2017 and stuff. That's something we need to push left, push Castillo left on. Because when we elect a president, even if it's a socialist president or one who calls himself socialist, like Pedro Castillo, and he is like by a long shot the lesser evil. We still have to hold them, and we still have to hold them accountable. The job just doesn't stop after voting for them. It's like, oh, I voted, I did my job, I'm done. Let me step back. You have to still be informing yourself and helping to push Castillo to stay helping the working class people. I don't know what the benefits are to maintain the copper industry like this. It appears like it's not going to be good for the environment. There's if there's people protesting and have been protesting, they are probably going to still be protesting if things continue to be the same way. Hopefully, they don't just settle down just because Castillo is elected. I don't think that they will. Peru isn't like the US where people just go back to sleep after their preferred candidate wins the presidential election. So we shall see. I don't know what else to say. And just to check again, my audio sounds good? Much better, much better. All right, I see Indie Left telling me much better. Thank you very much, Indie Left, for letting me know. Thank you, everybody in the chat, for letting me know. Let me read some super rays here. Reeve Barker, thank you very much for the super ray. We got Shadowban Refugee here. What's up, man? You guys should listen to him. Head on over to Rockfin if you have not yet. All right, where am I at? Where the Nazca lines faked are aliens. Uh, Atris or Atris. I've seen the lines of Nazca, and it looks like they could have been made by modern day technology and not people from the past. Like it's crazy how like accurate they are. Um, could it be aliens? People say that it's like their lines to like help guide spaceships like when they land. I don't know. I don't know what technology they could have used. So Fuzz, you said correction. The mining industry, how it manifests itself in the modern day, is an example of imperialism being best understood. Yeah, I mean, I never said it wasn't imperialism. Ghani Abdul says people need to realize this. Just like how journalists specialize in reporting one area of the news, commentators also prefer covering one area of news. Other people can cover other issues. And then what we can do, because it is true, like there's so much to cover. Like for example, like I can't keep up with everything. Like some weeks I'll be dedicating more to like certain issues than others. Is so the best thing we can do is refer to people who are covering it. And if you don't know who's covering it, you can ask your audience member to let you know who is. So then you can then let your audience know who they can refer to for a more in-depth coverage on certain topics. Yo, Meteor Dreams. Crystal Ball still talking about Bernie. Can we all just move on, the F on? Bro, she brings up Bernie every single segment. Like, why are you like candidates like Bernie Sanders? Like, people got to be like Bernie Sanders. Like, the movement that Bernie Sanders started. Like, move the fuck on. Like, Bernie Sanders lost. He's a cuck. He's not doing anything. He's not fighting for us. You're not even gonna criticize him. You're just bringing him up as this like saint, this like gift from heaven, and you're not gonna move the fuck on like Bernie is irrelevant right now. The only time to bring him up is just to talk about how irrelevant he is now, and to talk about how he sold out and how he's part of the establishment and how we didn't realize he was part of the establishment this whole entire time. Steve from Slow News say far too many people are hindering themselves by sticking with gossip and drama instead of news. It's easy. It's easy to fall victim to that. I try to use that to my advantage. Hamza says Steve Vanguard, and I'm gonna talk about the Vanguard in a bit. I'm still in good terms with them. I'm just gonna give like constructive criticism to them, but it's easy to fall victim to that. Like, you see the numbers, like when you talk about those issues, um, but you have to remember, like, and we want to inform as many people as we can. So I try to use that to my advantage. And this is what I learned from Nico House is like when there is like something gossipy happening, we can, and it's going to get favored by the algorithm. We can title the video like with whatever personality is being talked a lot about at the time, or whoever is getting exposed or whatever, and introduce people not only to just your channel but to the bigger world out there of other content creators that are doing great work. And that's what I did when I talked about Kyle and TYT and Jimmy and all them. Is like, hey, here are some other channels out there for you guys to support now that you guys have unsubscribed from Kyle and TYT. Check out Soul News Day. Check out these journalists that you guys should be reading more of their work on like Vanessa Beeley and Eva Bartlett and Whitney Webb and Derek Bros. You guys should check these people out, and you'll discover all these things that a lot of these content creators you've been following for years aren't talking about. It's going to help open your eyes even more. I mean, and I tell them about, like, I give them facts about TYT and these other channels that other channels aren't talking about. Like, I let them know that people like Robbie Yeager, who's a part of the MCSC network, the network that I'm a part of, I let them know that he's been on TYT and exposing who's been donating to, like, which billionaires have been like donating to them for years. Like, Robbie's been talking about that back in like 2019, like long before Forced to Vote and all that was exposing TYT for the grifters and corporatists that they are. So I tell people also, if you want to be ahead of the curve and know what's going on before it becomes a popular thing, then check out channels like mine. Check out the work of people like Robbie. Check out the Combo Couch, and of course, check out So Newsday because we got my buddy Steve here. And we got independent Indie Left News. Of course, you got to check out Indie Left News, who helps promote these smaller channels, and he compiles the best stories that have happened according to his opinion. You can tell people to follow Colin, Colin Radix, in his new channel. You can tell people to follow Shadowban Refugee. You can tell people to follow Propaganda Live and the Yellow Brick Road, all sharpshooters. And then you'll meet a whole bunch of people who you can have these conversations with about um, a bunch of shit that's not talked about on the news enough, like talking about Colonial Pipeline before the mainstream media starts talking about it, uh, and all the intricacies behind that. You can talk about all the elite that are all these shady people that are behind all of that. Talk about the latest article by Whitney Webb of her exposing the CIA ties to Facebook, or articles by Elizabeth Voss exposing the CIA ties to these creepy child sex trafficking organizations or child pornography trafficking organizations, which I do want to talk about here before we end the stream. The article by Elizabeth Voss. Shadow band. Follow me into the abyss. We got predator class livers on cookie platters. Mariana says drama is talking shit and going over and over personal shit to Shbeep. Come on, there's a difference. Please try and get that. All right. Yeah, I wanted to. So I did tell you guys I was gonna live react to that Vanguard video that they, and then I'll give my criticisms on that. Damn, man, this thing keeps unplugging. Mic check, mic check. Does my audio sound good? Indie Left says they actually interview lots of people on the left and talk about stuff that isn't drama also. Yeah, but the bulk of their content though. And then again, like they can do that if they want. I have no problem with that. It's just that you're not gonna be as informed all you're if that's all you're watching and if that's all you're talking about. And you gotta be prepared from getting like backlash if that's gonna be all you're doing. Um, but again, I'm cool. I'm cool with them. Like I have no problem with Gavin or Zach. I think they're really nice people. Um, and like I'm about to see. I don't know what they said in this video that's getting a lot of backlash. Apparently, they had Ryan Grimm on, and Jimmy Dore sent a lot of super chats. That I know. I peeped that a little bit. Um, and then Jimmy Dore talked about it on his channel. I didn't really watch it, but apparently Jimmy Dore was still saying that he loves the Vanguard. Toxic poop ad. All right. Yeah, let's I'll live react to this.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Vanguard. What's up, dude? How's it going? How's it going? Pretty good, pretty good. Obviously, if you guys have been paying attention over the last couple of days, you'll realize that something pretty meta actually has happened. The Vanguard, they're the channel which always comments on drama on TYT, Jimmy Dore, Twitter, etc., is now embroiled in some of our own. So that's kind of a big first for us. You know, we're happy to participate in the blood sports, but to address the actual substance here, you know, Zach and I just wanted to come on for a little bit and have a calm discussion about you know, what we did right, what we did wrong, and to flesh out and, you know, make sure our opinions on everything in this matter is fully divulged. So hopefully we move on. Hopefully we can put this to bed. We'll see what happens. But yeah,
Hold up.
thanks everyone for tuning.
What? 1.6K dislikes? What did they say? And 710 likes. Oh my god. All right, this is gonna be interesting.
In. And again, we're going to give you guys a pretty good rundown of our thoughts on everything involved that's gone down since our interview with Ryan Grimm. It's going to be totally honest and, you know, from the hip, like everything we do here. So, you know, try not to get too triggered. If you hear something you don't like, please stay around till the end. We're going to try to be giving a nuanced, opinion here. And we'd appreciate it if you guys listen. So, anyway, what's up, Zach?
Yeah, so I guess to crack this off, we stand by 100% the interview with Ryan Grimm, or at least I do. I have no regrets about that at all. I think Ryan Grimm is an authority when it comes to things like the infrastructure bill, and I do not feel like we let him speak on anything that we disagreed with on our show without engaging in it and at least articulating our disagreements. We'd already fleshed out Force the Vote. We'd already fleshed out a lot of the major disagreements that we'd had with Ryan Grimm. You can check out the whole debate we staged on Cinco de Mayo with him and Ryan Knight to try and get to the bottom of that Twitter drama, put it behind us, and continue, moving forward. However, of course, that didn't happen. And, Gavin, you mentioned you think that we can put this behind us. That's just not going to happen either. This is going to follow us like a cloud for a long fucking time, and I don't give a shit. But just to kind of address a couple of things right off of the bat that I did want to say, one of the things that we said on the show that is technically, semantically incorrect that this one's for you, Jimmy. I will correct. So Jimmy never deleted his interview with Ryan Grimm. He's just refused to make it public since the initial recording. So if you go to his YouTube channel and you're looking for the video that he did where he gives a fucking hardball, fucking just excoriating interview with Ryan Grimm, you can't fucking find it. So Jimmy, if you want to release that so you can teach us a lesson, because if you want to come at us and try and like finger wag to us about who we talk to, what kind of questions we ask.
Hold up. All right. And that right there, when I saw the interview that they did to Ryan Grimm, like I only saw glimpses of it. And from when I've talked to Gavin about Ryan Grimm, it seems like they're more harsh right now towards Jimmy, who's more opposed to the status quo, who's more in favor of movements that are working outside of the system. They seem harsher on him than they are on Ryan Grimm, who is trying to kneecap movements and who is either propping up the status quo, giving excuses for these politicians that are maintaining the status quo, like AOC. I've seen Ryan Grimm give excuses for Nancy Pelosi. I've seen Ryan Grimm give excuses for like even like regime change and shit. It doesn't. It just if you want to be clear to people like what side you stand on, you have to make it clear. Like if you want to be clear to people on where you stand, you have to be harsher on people like Ryan Grimm than on Jimmy Dore. Like it's fine to criticize Jimmy Dore, like I've done it here. And I mean, I read an article of Ali's criticizing Jimmy Dore. Like there's a way to do it. But you have to be consistent and criticize people like Ryan Grimm a lot more when clearly we still see some people on the left who still think that he is a what's it called, someone to trust when he's not. You can be Red Sea, you can be harsh on Jimmy, but why can't you be harsher on Ryan Grimm? Like, do you think who deserves to be treated more harshly, Jimmy Dore or Ryan Grimm? Oh yeah. All right, let's continue.
On our fucking show, please release that hardball interview that you did with Ryan, where you took him to task, where you really held his feet to the fire, where you really filleted him for not supporting Force the Vote in the correct way. I really want to watch that so that I can learn, so that I can take notes, and maybe you won't have to condescend me on your show next time. I love this show, but here's all the things that they did wrong and that they should have done better, and I was giving them pointers from the fucking bleachers, and I'm a grown-ass fucking man with a way bigger podcast, but I've burned my fucking bridge with Ryan Grimm, apparently, after all the personal attacks I lobbed at him for, which is fine, right? Jimmy has every right to go on his show and say whatever the fuck he wants about us, whatever the fuck he wants to about Ryan Grimm. We've always defended Jimmy's right to do that. How fucking stupid would it be if we were like, oh, I can't believe Jimmy said something about us I didn't like? Of course he's going to say shit about us that we don't like, but I'm going to come back on my fucking show and say my piece too. So anyway, Pat.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Zach, and something that needs to be stressed. And I get it. On our live stream yesterday, it may have seemed like we got a little bit.
Jesus Christ.
What if you could control the web?
We're a little bit triggered. I understand that. But I want everyone to understand that we really don't give a shit if people criticize us. We've in fact made a whole industry on our channel of criticizing other commentators, other channels. Trust me, we can take the fucking heat. We can bear the criticism. And, to be fair, a lot of the criticism is coming from a good place. I don't think everyone that's, criticizing the Vanguard or anyone else is this, piece of shit or whatever. I listen and I understand where everyone is coming from, or at least I try to, the people that are coming at us in good faith. I just want that to be said. This isn't about us getting triggered over, someone criticizing us. We criticize hella people on our show. Again, we've basically made it our jobs to do that among bringing you guys the reporting in the news. Let's be honest, that's what people often really want to see. So, I don't begrudge anyone for saying anything about the Vanguard. That's including people in the comments. And if, you feel disappointed, absolutely feel free to unsubscribe, stop supporting us financially, whatever. I would never support a show that I didn't like either. So, we don't begrudge that stuff. And I just want to make that clear. You can keep watching the show even if you don't love us or support us, etc. There's plenty of shows that I watch. There's plenty of commentators that I watch whose views that I actually don't really align with all that much. There's people like Ryan Grimm, who we just had on our show, who, I have many points of disagreement with, which we stressed, which we, belabored out in that debate with Ryan Knight. We really expounded on pretty much all of our points of disagreement, forced the vote, etc. And, the interview we did with him, it's just not what it was about. It wasn't a drama interview. It was about the infrastructure bill. That's what we wanted to talk about. And, to be fair, I thought we did a pretty good job. I really do. Like you said, Zach, I stand by our interview.
Yeah, 100%. So I guess if you're pissed off that we didn't, fucking fireball the guy, that wasn't what we were ever intending to do. And just because you see somebody that we disagree with doesn't mean we're going to fucking fillet them for it. We had Spike Cohen on, who was the vice presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party. And we've had him on twice. The first time it got a little heated. We were voicing our different, fucking opinions, right? It was early on in the podcast history. Gavin and I were still cutting our teeth and, learning the ebbs and flows of a good on-air conversation. And the second time we had him on with Ian, he's got the show Epoch Philosophy you guys can check out. We were having more of a dialogue on where there are agreements between libertarians and people who are on the progressive left. Things like drugs, things like defunding the police, which was a hot topic at the time. We were looking for places where we could come together. We did not spend the entire time telling Spike that we thought it was absolutely bloody fucking stupid, that he thinks we don't need any regulation in the food industry, that he thinks we don't need any regulation in the healthcare industry. Like, it's absolutely dumb as rocks. But that wasn't the focus of our conversation. And it's kind of like how people often go after Jimmy Dore for going on Tucker Carlson, who is one of the most odious fuckers that you will ever fucking meet. He is disgusting in his bow tie. And now he wants to pretend that he's like an isolationist after he got fucking big, cheerleading every war imaginable. Like, I mean, this dude was a fucking straight up neocon that's, gone through a political evolution. And I've never begrudged Jimmy or Glenn Greenwald or any of these others that have gone on his show, right? I wouldn't care. How is that any different? Because it wasn't like Jimmy went on his show to be like, you're a fucking fraud, you're a fake populist, you support Donald Trump too much. No, they talked about something that Jimmy thought that they could have good, rational agreement on, which was Julian Assange, and thought that they could move the ball forward on. Well, guess what? We've already had our confrontational interview with Ryan Grimm. We've actually had some private confrontations between Ryan Grimm, too, engaging on our disagreements. Confrontation's a loose term. We try to be respectful to the guy because he's always been fucking nice to us, and I'm happy to disagree with people and then still be civil with them. Apparently, that's fucking against the law. And I get it. A lot of that is shock jock style delivery. It's a radio performance. Again, I don't take it fucking personally when Jimmy has a bone to pick with us, but of course I'm going to fucking respond. So it's kind of like he can do the whole condescending thing, talk about how we're shit libs, like, we're trying to goad him onto our show. It's like, come on, Jimmy, like, that's not fucking true. But you have to, you are, balancing. It kind of like, actually, it reminds me of a quote from Roadrunner, where they said the best part about Anthony Bourdain was that he was real, but he was still able to hold his audience with a little degree of like heightened reality. And that's what a lot of people in this competing space are doing. And
okay. So they acknowledge that it's cool to go on like other shows and stuff to deliver your message. Yeah, for sure. And Jimmy definitely agrees with that. And he goes on Tucker Carlson. And then they mentioned that it's not like the focus isn't to be calling out Tucker Carlson, but the focus is to talk about Assange and to call out the Democrats and stuff. And I've heard Jimmy talk about, although maybe not enough, like talk about how Republicans are also a waste of time on Tucker's show. Actually, no, he does. He does point it out. He does point out how the Republicans suck. I don't know if it's. I'd have to rewatch and see how significant it is. But you only have like so much time to talk about things like on those shows, like for Tucker Carlson. Like the interviews are like 6 minutes or something. You're not gonna have time to be like calling his ass out on stuff. Well, let me plug this in. But what he did have time, and what Jimmy was successful in, is in uh, making people aware of the imperialism that the U.S. does, and as well as making people aware of Julian Assange and how it's one of the most important press freedom trials of our lifetime, and how this guy needs to be freed. And the only reason why he's being persecuted and being put on trial and tortured is just because he delivered the truth that made the empire feel uncomfortable. So that's significant. And it's him going on Tucker's show. If Jimmy had Tucker on his show, like if Jimmy was interviewing Tucker Carlson, Jimmy's show runs, a lot longer than 6 minutes, and there's more time to press him on more on some of the more controversial or stances that we disagree with Tucker Carlson on, or that Jimmy disagrees with Tucker Carlson on. But he hasn't had Tucker on his show. And the case of the Vanguard, they're having Ryan Grim on their show for a longer conversation, so there's more time to give them more difficult questions. Now they're saying that they've had Ryan Grim on in the past, and they gave him like a hardball interview then. I mean, what's stopping you from having more hardball interviews? The guy, like he's gives excuses for politicians to not speak out about Assange. Like he gives all these excuses for the status quo. He tries to kneecap these movements. I mean, I would try to change him on that if I have him on the show, and I press him on that. I was like, hey, why are you trying to kneecap these movements? Why do you think that this is such a hard thing? And yeah, they're talking about like something that's like unrelated, but still, he's not a good faith actor, and he is someone that really needs to get exposed. And yeah, Anthony, Tucker is a limited hangout, which is why if Jimmy had Tucker on his show, there's plenty of opportunity there to talk more in depth about these issues that makes Tucker a limited hangout and expose that. And Cat 80, I didn't see that interview that they did with Ryan Grim, so I can't really say if it was actually a hardball interview or not. I haven't seen it. And I honestly don't really feel like seeing it. I don't feel like watching an interview with Ryan Grim when I could read articles that are uh, written by like Whitney Webb and Elizabeth Voss and all these other journalists that are revealing more important things. I already know how much of a limited hangout, a bad faith actor Ryan Grim is. But yeah, it's not the same thing. Like going on Tucker's show when it's like a 6 minute segment is not the same thing as having Tucker on your show and having a longer interview where you can press them on these issues. In which the case is what the Vanguard did. They had a longer show to press Ryan Grim on these issues. They had plenty of time.
And obviously he's heightened it up to do this like shock jock from the left thing, which is extremely successful, and a lot of people love.
Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, now that we have that out of the way, and I think we've said what we did wrong and what we said we were responsible for, again, offering a retraction on where we misspoke the other day, I do have to, get into the substance of this and call balls and strikes. And again, some people have clearly are under the impression here that we're Jimmy Dore's close friends, that we're some kind of sycophantic channel which is always going to side with him no matter what. And I hate to tell you guys that that is simply not the case. Here at the Vanguard, basically the point of our show is that we react to and respond to other commentators in this lefty independent media space and say where we agree and where we disagree. So if you guys never thought we were going to have a disagreement with someone like Jimmy, your head must have been straight up your fucking ass. The whole point of our show is to disagree with people. We've always been extremely hyperbolic and vituperative when we're disagreeing with people, and it's just pretty ironic to see a lot of people in our audience, mind blown that we would direct that kind of energy at someone that they like and that we also like. I mean, we've been critical of lots of people, as has Jimmy, and that's what kind of blows my mind about all this. It's like, Jimmy has also made an industry on being savagely critical and often extremely hyperbolic and vituperative towards his fellow lefty commentators. People.
So then
Jesus.
You don't customize your car insurance at Liberty Mutual, so you only pay for what you need.
Like, Kyle Kalinske and Crystal Ball, as we recently saw. Pretty much everyone that he's ever associated with at this point, besides the people that are literally on his payroll, he's burned the bridge with. And so, I just don't get the pearl clutching and the finger wagging over the way we responded from people that otherwise love Dore. So that aside, let's address this criticism. So Steph, Jimmy's wife, she tweets out this interview. They did upload the clip of Jimmy reacting to our interview with Ryan Grimm, and she says, "No, when a blue check blocks you on Twitter and keeps talking about you, this is now referred to as a Grimm job." And of course, he's just posting this interview. But Ryan Grimm actually responded to this. And again, like I've said multiple times, usually I end up siding with Jimmy Dore on politics. When it comes to foreign policy, when it comes to a lot of other things, I generally share a lot of his political inclinations. And usually when it comes to Ryan versus Jimmy beefs, I'm on Jimmy's side. But again, we're not going to be sycophantic and we're not going to pretend to have a position that we don't. And I have to say that Ryan Grimm is 100% objectively correct here. He says, the last time I went on, Jimmy nodded and agreed with my points. Then when I hung up, he changed his tune. Then he refused to post the interview or the video of the interview. Now you guys stalk me like creeps and you're talking about fetishes. It's weird. And like I said, that's just true. Ryan Grimm did go on Jimmy Dore's show during the force the vote moment. They had what you could describe as a discussion or a friendly debate, but it was no, intense slaughter interview. It was not Jimmy Dore holding Ryan Grimm to account. It was a perfectly amicable, professional conversation, just like the one we had with Ryan Grimm on our channel, which, by the way, is still up for everyone to watch. You can go see how we did. Again, Jimmy's the one that is refusing to post the video of his interview. So, I kind of do get Ryan's frustration here. And again, I agree with Jimmy Dore probably more often than I do Ryan Grimm. But in this specific instance, I do think Jimmy Dore is coming off like a fucking coward. Why are you refusing to talk to this guy? And also, he posts this interview, or this clip, rather, talking about our interview with Ryan Grimm, reacting to it for 25 minutes, and titles it Ryan Grimm runs from Jimmy Dore interview. What he conveniently leaves out is that at the very end of the fucking interview we did with Ryan Grimm, I asked him straight up, would you be willing to talk to Jimmy Dore again on our show? Would you be willing to come on the Vanguard for a moderated debate between yourself and Jimmy Dore? And Ryan Grimm said absolutely, he would be. And that's not the first time he said something like that. I've listened to many interviews of Ryan Grimm on several different shows saying he'd be happy to engage with Jimmy Dore again for an actual debate. But Jimmy's over here acting like for months now that Ryan's running away from him. I'm sorry, but that's simply dishonest. That's just dishonest, man. He's trying to debate you. He's been trying to engage you. You're the one that's running away, and you are the one making it weird as fuck, dude. You are attacking him personally. You are distracting from the policy. Why don't you just want to engage with people? What is so hard about just sitting down and engaging with someone that disagrees with you? Again, you can sit down with Tucker Carlson and have a perfectly amicable conversation. You can sit down with Joe Rogan and have a perfectly amicable conversation, and I don't begrudge you for it. But that being said, I think it's fair to say Ryan Grimm agrees with us on more things than fucking Tucker Carlson. I'm sorry, but I think he's more of an ally. And I think it's kind of insane that we can't have a conversation about infrastructure with someone who's our ally, but we have to turn around and defend
I don't know. Anyone who's trying to kneecap any form of direct action, who has a platform like Ryan Grimm, anybody who props up the status quo, I don't see as an ally. And in the case of Julian Assange, I mean, hasn't Tucker been more outspoken about Julian Assange than Ryan Grimm? I could be wrong, but hasn't he? Like they're both, from what I see, Tucker and Ryan Grimm are both limited hangouts. So we just criticize both, but the thing is, like, with Ryan Grimm, there's still a lot of people on the left who have trust in him for some reason. And so the goal for people like Jimmy is to try to wake some of those people up and expose how much of a coward and limited hangout Ryan Grimm is. And I think that, yeah, he should still point out how much of a limited hangout Tucker Carlson is in his neocon past. I mean, I think he should still do that, since there is an overlap there with a lot of Republican supporters that Jimmy has on his show. Like, the goal is to wake everybody up, right? But yeah, I don't think Jimmy is in the wrong here for going after Ryan Grimm when he's trying to kneecap any kind of like direct action or movement that started to try to actually improve the lives of people. I don't think it's wrong for Jimmy to call Ryan Grimm out on that.
You, when fucking people are criticizing you for having conversations with Magnus, like it's just really mind blowing. And again, to all these people too, saying that like why would we go after Jimmy? He's helped us so much. Why would you bite the hand that feeds you, etc.? That would be access journalism. That would be fucking access journalism. If we refuse to criticize Jimmy Dore when we disagree with him, that would be fucking access journalism. That would be trying to hold on to a subscriber base, a fan base of people that are Jimmy Dore sycophant for no other reason than for money.
Yep. So anyway, and just to be clear, the idea behind Brian Grimm agreeing to come on our show and not go back on Jimmy Dore's show is to provide security that the interview is actually going to go fucking out to people, right? I don't give a shit if they don't do it on our show. They can do it on any fucking show they want to. They can do it on Vosh's show. They can do it on Jackson Hinkle's show. I want to see the fucking thing happen. I want to see it go down. I want to see the interview happen, the debate, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And I also want to see the old one, and I want to see Jimmy show us exactly what the fuck we did wrong.
Oh, I turned off my camera. I was disappeared by the CIA. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I guess that's probably all we have to say on this subject, guys. I think I've pretty much got my piece out on it all. I wanted to kind of just sit down, though, for 10 or 15 minutes and make it clear where we stand on this. Again, we're not going to agree with everyone all the time, and we're also not going to be these fucking polite, pearl-clutching hosts that are over here, oh, I don't want to offend Jimmy Dore by saying the wrong thing. Are you fucking kidding me? Jimmy Dore has talked shit about us on our show, about our coverage of multiple things, and we've always let it go. We're always like, whatever, dude, of course it's your right to talk shit on us. Again, that's what we do. So, yeah, I think that's probably a good place to leave it. And as one last time, I'll just say that we'll really talk to most anyone on our show. We invited Jimmy Dore back on our show after he put out that clip from his live stream the other night of us talking to Ryan Grimm. We said, hey, would you like to come on and engage with us on this and actually have a discussion about it? And instead he decided to bomb our live chat again with all these like fucking like crazed, insane, questions in all caps like a madman. So
I would love that. What the heck? If I was getting all these super chats from from people like, and it's with Jimmy Dore, I would love getting those. I would love receiving them. I get what they're saying, like, oh, it's like they felt like overwhelmed and like they were like too like conflict oriented. But I mean, there's still super chats. You're getting support. I know that with interviews you have limited time. So I would probably get through some of them and ask Ryan Grimm about it. And then after the interview, I could address some of the other ones and be like, hey, for the sake of time, I couldn't ask these. But I mean, I did ask some of them because Jimmy was sending a lot of live chats. It was like 20 or something. But yeah, and All right, we'll get to some of the other discussion because I see you guys having like a bit of a, I don't know what to call it, like a debate, a war in the live chat. I'll address some of my thoughts on what you guys are saying.
It's like, dude, do you actually not want to just engage with people? Clearly not. But the same goes for Ryan. Again, someone who we've criticized far, far more intensely on our show, but who's still perfectly happy to come on and share a dialogue about things we disagree upon. So at the end of the day, I guess I'll just say, that's all there is to say. Peace out, guys.
All right, peace out, guys. I'm just kidding. I'm staying here for a little bit more to talk. But yeah, Ryan Grimm and Tucker Carlson, I see as bad faith actors. I think that they have an agenda, and both at the end of the day, they're both promoting the status quo. It's just that they're on different teams. One presents himself as a progressive or like a helping the populist left, and the other presents himself as a populist right. And yeah, though Tucker does talk about Assange, I mean, he should still be called out on some of the other things that he does, the horrific things he says about like blaming immigrants, and all these other things. You guys know some of the horrible stances Tucker takes. Like the goal is to wake up as many people as we can, and if you do have some Republicans in your audience, you want to help to try to wake those people up. Like take that opportunity. Jimmy's already doing that fantastically with waking people up about how Ryan Grimm is an opportunist and how he is a limited hangout and props up the status quo. But yeah, don't just stop there. Call all of them out. And if you have the opportunity to wake Tucker Carlson up about like Assange and like he took that opportunity, but I mean, don't let that stop you from criticizing Tucker also. It's harder for me to talk about these issues. Like usually when I do these videos, like when I analyze things, like from videos or like when I'm exposing like the synthetic left, or when I do like any video clip, like I have more time to think about what I just saw or what I just read, and like I write it out, and I'm able to like frame things really well. Like when I record it and I edit it later, it's harder for me to do that on the live stream, and I'm more afraid of like saying the wrong thing. But regardless, like it's a live reaction, and that's my these are my initial thoughts. All right. Red Sea says, how can Jimmy complain people go on MSNBC if he goes on Fox? It's the fucking same. He doesn't complain about them going on MSNBC. He more so complains about how they're peddling status, like State Department propaganda while they're on MSNBC. I mean, maybe if you have like any like evidence of him calling them out just because they went on MSNBC, even though they're trying to expose the mainstream propaganda that they do, I like to see that, but I don't think it's the same thing. So Cat 83 says, I don't think MSNBC or CNN invite Jimmy on. That's what I hear. That's what he says, that they don't invite him on. He criticizes them a lot on his show. I wonder if like he criticized Fox News just as much, if he'd still be invited on. I don't know. Like if Jimmy was criticizing Tucker Carlson a lot for some of his stances, but then also pointing out when he's uh, being fair about like Assange and all that, to like just point to like keep pointing it out. I wonder if he'd still be invited on. I don't know. He sees Fox News as like a low hanging fruit since he sees his channel as like a leftist channel, and for the most part it is. But he still has a lot of overlap with those that Republican audience that watches his show. Uh, and like I've been saying, like you still want to wake up those people. You want to wake up as many people as you can. But yeah, I'd have to. It's my first time watching that Vanguard clip, so I'd have to think more about it to give like a better analysis. But from my initial thoughts, I think that it was a little too reactionary of them, like like when the way that they came across in the video, rather than taking the time to think about, okay, why did Jimmy do this? Why are his fans reacting like this? How can I deliver this message in a way that won't piss them off, but will make them understanding about where we're coming from? But it's just a lack of experience that they have, and even some bigger channels also can have like some reactionary videos and stuff. But uh, I would have taken the time to analyze the situation more before I made a response video. Because they really came out looking like they're like what do you call it, like an enemy of like that faction of the left by being by being more kind to Ryan Grim than Jimmy. So you want to approach it in a way that makes it look like you're still on those people's side. All right, Anthony, I will be in NYC Friday for sure. Would love to see you and some of the other audience members there. The very next day, I will be filming the event that's happening in March for Medicare for All. I'm going to be wearing my Assange buttons because without free speech, without whistleblowers, and uh, without people like Julian Assange, then how can we deliver the problems that are happening in the world? How can we deliver the message about how we need Medicare for All? Without a free press, we can't really communicate with people about the things that we need, like a better healthcare system. Universal healthcare. Franco, sure, nobody is perfect, but the Vanguard have been doing nasty shit way before. I'd have to look at it. I don't watch too much of their stuff. Like I've been recently I've mostly been there's so many channels out now. I mostly use my time to watch not really watch, like I read more, read articles to work on my show, some of the content that I'm going to talk about on my show. Uh I watch some of my colleagues' work in the MCSC network. I spend time hanging out with some of the audience members, like in my Discord or on some of these hangout channels, like Propaganda Live and the Yellow Brick Road. I watch a lot of show like hard evidence based streams, like the Last American Vagabond streams. Shout out to Ryan Christian, like on Rockfin. I watch those. Um, If Whitney Webb has an interview, I listen to that. Uh, I don't watch as much as I used to, but I still, want to support the hard work a lot of my brothers and sisters are doing. I have never heard Jimmy talk about the wars in sub-Saharan Africa. He ignores it, just like Gray Zone. I've heard, Max Blumenthal was talking a bit about how Africa is being exploited by these big green billionaires and oligarchs. But yeah, a lot of their focus is mostly on like South Africa. I mean, on South America, Central America, the Middle East. They cover a lot of their coverage is they have a lot of the stuff that they write about are things similar to what the Moon of Alabama write. Usually, Moon of Alabama get to it first. But yeah, like we were talking about earlier, like we only have, as individuals, we can only cover so much. And then the best you can do, like if you can't cover something, is refer to people who are covering it in depth. So Gray Zone covers everywhere else except Sub-Saharan Africa. I mean it's fair to critique them on that. I mean, you can point that out. Maybe that'll urge them to cover it more. I'll talk about this another day. I was about to say something about that, but I'll talk about it another day. Like this is a discussion I'd like to have with people like people who I've talked about this behind the scenes, like Sabby and Glory and Fiorella. It's not just Vanguard. It is a lot like these white content creators or white journalists seem to prop up white up and coming content creators and journalists more than the minorities that are up and coming. I don't know what it could be. There's a bias there. But that's certainly a topic I'd like to explore more. And I talked a little bit about it with Marcus, RJ, and Savvy Sabs about why black voices aren't propped up enough. All right, I do want to talk about, before I end the stream, I want to talk about this article that was on medium.com by Elizabeth Voss. Oh no, not Medium. Not Medium, my bad. I meant Minpress News. So what I'm doing here in this stream, like this is an AMA, but this is also like kind of like a testing ground of what I could cover later on in more depth. So I talked about Ali's article. I can have her on to talk about a little bit more about that, like something that people, like audience members, need to hear and be careful of, sycophantism and hero worshiping. I can have Sebs on to talk more about blockchain and how Africa is being exploited. And I would love to have Elizabeth Voss on to talk about this article right here, because this should be breaking news everywhere. It's some really creepy shit. Like the people we're supposed to trust are covering up for these crimes that were being done on innocent children. So the title is Losing Finders: How the US Government Worked to Keep the CIA Connection Secret. There is a CIA connection to like the founder organization. So the scandal surrounding the Finders cult raises questions of ongoing significance about the rogue, untouchable nature of the CIA and its assets. So Elizabeth Voss does a great job exposing this. Whitney Webb also has articles discussing this issue, the ties with Jeffrey Epstein also. Derek Bros has covered this as well, and he's interviewed people like witnesses. So Elizabeth Voss starts out by saying the Finder scandal event that took place several decades ago, which I have explored in the 2 previous parts of this series, might be perceived as very much in the rear view mirror. It is of great contemporary relevance, however, because it raises questions of ongoing significance, particularly in an era where American-style compromise is seen by many to have an undiminished, if not augmented, role in our politics, about the rogue, untouchable nature of the intelligence community and its assets. The connection between the CIA and the Finders cult is one of the most explosive and significant aspects of the whole Finder scandal because, if substantiated, it would constitute not simply an outlandish and perhaps criminal group purported to be abusing and trafficking children, but one sanctioned by the most powerful government on earth. In previous entries in this series, I presented a general overview of the Finders cult and the multiple stages in which the story has unfolded, and I've highlighted the claims made in the most repressed and damaging documents associated with the case. U.S. Customs documents penned by Special Agent Ramon Martinez. If his reports are accurate, the CIA stepped in to cover up the criminal activity of the Finders in the initial 1987 investigation, with the agency implicitly claiming association with the cult, rendering the issue an internal matter. This would link the CIA with evidence of ongoing child trafficking, child abuse, and allegations of rebuttal, abuses, and mind control. Ban the CIA, guys. Ban the CIA. We don't need it. We don't need it. Look at all these disgusting things that they're tied with, exploiting people in other countries and exploiting innocent children here in this country. Covering that shit up. That's absolutely inexcusable, and they should be banned. As early as 1993, U.S. News and World Report was accurate in describing the Finders case as one viewed through a glass very darkly. As I wrote in the introduction to this series, the more one peers into the Finders case, the more one sees that what we have available to us in terms of hard evidence is at best fragmentary. However, what evidence we do have available is damning enough that it deserves to be reckoned with. This segment will further explore the connections between the groups of U.S. intelligence that have previously been touched upon. To do so, it's necessary to reiterate that the involvement between the CIA and the Finders is at issue in multiple stages. First, there is the group's murky history, especially that of Finders founder Marion Petty. Intelligence connections are then indicated during the 1987 investigation of child abuse charges stemming from the incident in Tallahassee, Florida, and such ties are subsequently documented while being officially disputed by the 1993 Department of Justice inquiry. We will examine the history and larger context of the Finders in terms of CIA operation of the era before discussing indications of CIA involvement in 1987 case and the documents from the 1993 inquiry. And this has been written about a lot, as we see already here in the introduction. There's already 2 articles here that are cited for more background on this issue. The founding of the Finders, the leader of the Finders cult was Marion G. Petty, a former Air Force Master Sergeant who admitted that his son worked for CIA Front Air America. Petty's wife, Isabel, is admitted in FBI vault documents to have worked for the CIA from 1951 to 1971, although some documents state that her period of employment ended in 1961. And it is also admitted that she was given passports to North Korea, North Vietnam, the Soviet Union, and elsewhere during the height of the Cold War. That she would travel to such strictly prohibited locations suggests she was more than a simple staff stenographer, as the documents attempt to portray her. Specifically, an explosive investigative report written by Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police Department, MPD, Sergeant John Stitcher. Though his name is redacted, the report is confirmed elsewhere to have been penned by him on February 19, 1987, is labeled confidential and do not disseminate, and is titled Re, Finder's Involvement with the Central Intelligence Agency. It contains Sergeant Stitcher's description of what an unnamed CIA special agent stated in terms of the agency's involvement with the finders, which reads in part, SA redacted, was guarded but frank in his response. He confirmed that redacted Isabel, now deceased, was an employee of the agency from 1950 until 1971. When asked if our investigation was treading on anyone's toes out there, redacted replied, sort of. He acknowledged that they have had someone working on the case since it first broke on the news media. He also stated that the agency is aware that during the period of 1969 and 1971, redacted had traveled to Moscow, North Vietnam, and North Korea and Vietnam. And then here's the document for that. The significance of Sergeant Stitcher's report cannot be overstated. Given the fact that the CIA coined the phrase plausible deniability, it is remarkable that the agency would admit that Isabel Petty worked for them for 21 years. The report relates that travel of at least one Finders member to restricted countries is admitted to have been undertaken with CIA awareness and facilitation. The agency is described as having a vested interest in the Finders, and although a large section is redacted under the classification confidential, there is the suggestion that the CIA was involved in funding the Finders operation. So not only were they trying to cover it up, but they were funding it, and that's probably why they were trying to cover it up, is because they were involved in it. So yeah, there's some more there, and I'm gonna read like some of the connections that Epstein has with this. We've discussed the intelligence ties of Marion Petty and his wife Isabel, but it should be reiterated that Petty claimed that his son worked for Air America, an airline recognized as a CIA front that was involved in the Iran-Contra scandal. As reported by journalist Whitney Webb, Air America would go on to be renamed Southern Air Transport and would be associated with notorious child sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein and his close associate Leslie Wexner. As Webb has pointed out, Epstein would also claim to have worked for the CIA, and he would reportedly receive a sweetheart prosecution deal because he belonged to intelligence. You see how deep these ties are with these creepy people? Like we could solve this issue quickly. Like we have the capacity to do it. Like the technology and everything, the investigators that could be working on issues like this, that can expose all these connections, all this evidence, all these documents. There's hard proof there, but because these powers are purposely trying to cover it up because these powers are involved. It's some scary stuff, guys. Of course, they won't hold other people to the same accountability. And I just linked the article to you guys for you guys to read it a little bit more. I would love to have Elizabeth Voss on to talk about this more in depth. But I mean, if this was like, if we had to demonize another country, like if the U.S. had to demonize another country about crimes against humanity, the way that children are being abused, they do it if there's something in it for the U.S. to overtake that country and install a puppet leader there. But here they are themselves doing it. I don't know how deep this goes, but this could lead to a lot of people getting exposed, a lot of powerful people getting exposed. Uh, and there's what's preventing it is a lot of threats of blackmail probably among these these elites. Like there's threats of blackmail. They're like, oh, if you release this, I'll release this that you did. Look at that creepy shit you did with these children. Huh? So I was reading this stuff and I see you guys are talking about like Kit Cabello. Kit Cabello. What happened with Kit? I think Kit can be persuaded to go deeper if he's not at the moment. I could be wrong. Kit's a great guy. He's just Hardlens is just afraid to cover certain issues because they're afraid to get shadow banned again. But I mean, it's gonna happen again if you're in this realm of independent media. You're only helping the people you're supposed to be fighting against if you're self-censoring yourself. It's just, you know, constructive criticism on my part. You know, I still love those guys, um, especially Kit, who I've who's been on my show when I was like a really small channel, when I was like around 100 or so subscribers, and who, you know, we've been in group chats together, just joking around and all that. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you're in this business of trying to inform, you got to be ready for the censorship that's going to come your way, and you're going to have to be ready to play hardball. I mean, if a small channel like mine, like that's working from the ground up, that has very limited resources, if I'm not afraid to talk about Julian Assange on YouTube, I'm not afraid of saying his name, then I don't see why, you know, a channel as big as Harlan's Media should be afraid. And like the way you can fight off, like if you're afraid to get taken off, like off of YouTube, like you just have a backup channel. And they did. It was hard for them to grow it though, but grow that one even further. But then you just have to brainstorm and think about how you can stay fresh and keep growing that channel. That's where I see a lot of people who have a marketing background are being really successful in this realm right now. I don't have a marketing background, but I'm learning as I go. Like look at the videos that I had when I first started this channel. It's just me and like a white wall behind me. I didn't even have a mic. I was using my phone as a camera. I was just like recording on my phone there. And then I upload that to my computer. And then I learned about programs like OBS. I learned as I went on. You know, I met other content creators. It's been a fun journey and I'm still like in the beginning of the path. You know, I'm still at like a little bit over 5,000 subscribers, like 5.35K after being here for a little bit more than a year. With absolutely no background in news reporting, not being nearly as informed as some of these other content creators. I was open to hearing what my audience members had to say. I was open to accepting that I could be wrong on things, and then I would grow. And I guess that's what people were attracted to with this channel. It's just that this is a channel that's growing, not just like with subscribers, but growing, like evolving, growing as I get more informed, as I learn from my audience, as I learn from other content creators. Yeah, like Anthony said here, I like Franco because he listens and he doesn't care who you are. Yeah, I don't care. Like even like some of my biggest critics here, like I put their, little comments up here and I address some of their criticisms and stuff. We may not always agree, but I mean, I'm still gonna have like I'm still gonna hear you out and see how I can improve. Franco, do not forget to interview Ben Swan and Whitney Webb on your show via Rockfin on COVID-19. I would love to. I would love to. I emailed Whitney's scheduler, but they haven't gone back to me yet. Ben Swan, I don't know how to reach him, but I'm gonna have for the virus and all that. I'm gonna talk to more doctors and stuff like Dr. Robert Malone, who helped create the mRNA vaccine. I'm also gonna reach out to Dr. Andrew Kaufman. But yeah, let's try to make the Whitney interview happen, man. I should have Tenderlungs on the show. Oh man, I've heard Tenderlungs in conversations like on the voice chat in certain discords. Like Anthony said, the dude is a trip. No, that's not what I wanted. Fred Edwards said John Journal has been blasting recently. John Journal has been getting really suppressed. I've had Teodros on the show on Rockfin to talk about some of his reporting on the whole COVID issue and stuff. And I'd love to have him back on again, but he is getting highly suppressed on Twitter, on Facebook. And that's when you really should start questioning stuff. Is like, why are these topics being suppressed more, are being censored more? Are the corporations and our government trying to hide something? Tenderlung said, agreed. I like Franco as a person. He's just naive sometimes and still learning, and all I know is tough love. Sometimes you can be naive, Tenderlungs. I know I'm not gonna know everything, but I mean, I'm open to learn if I'm wrong about stuff. All of us are naive about something. That's why we need people to keep us in check. All right, guys, let's do about like 5 more minutes before we wrap up. Just ask me anything you guys want. Ask me anything in these last 5 minutes, and then we'll wrap up. I'll let you guys know about the GoFundMe and everything to help me out so that we can improve the quality of these streams with a desktop. Who's Yelbro? Yelbro is some guy who chills in the dark in a corner, and then he like gives character analysis of stuff, and he's like, if you ask me, I would do this. If you ask me, I see this. He's a cool guy. PC or Mac? It's gonna be a PC. It's called like a Skytech Archangel or something like that. I'm having people like Oz and Reef and stuff helping me out with like recommendations for a good desktop. Franco, are you building your PC or buying pre-built? Buying pre-built. Buying pre-built. Why don't Steve Breedlove? Why don't any of us care that climate science says we are fucked? We aren't fighting back because because it's not being talked about enough on even on independent channels. It's just like, oh, climate change, and then that's it. And then people just know, oh yeah, climate change is bad, but they don't know the complexity of it. They don't know how bad it is, how much it will directly affect them, and when it will start exacerbating even more. They don't know how it's going to affect like all these communities. And I'm not talking about like people, not just people communities, but animal communities, plant communities, back like all the like any form of life will be affected by this, which will directly affect you in the end, because as much as you are indoctrinated into the system and are thinking about like your personal life and thinking about like what's happening in like independent media, like all and thinking about news and stuff, at the end of the day you are a carbon-based creature that depends on oxygen and all these other molecules and organisms that are in your environment. And if something changes in your environment too rapidly, and if we're not adapting, then you're going to be in trouble. And it can lead to sickness. You're not receiving the right nutrients. There's going to be a scarcity of resources. So just the complexity of it is just not talked about enough. The bad faith actors that are trying to take advantage of these situations are not talked about enough, which you should check out the work by Cory Morningstar, who exposes a lot of these bad faith actors who are trying to act like they're your friend and who are trying to help you out, like the Sunrise Movement, like AOC, and these fake solutions like the Green New Deal, which is just going to benefit the big green corporations, some of which have also ties with big oil and the fossil fuel industry. And then there's not enough. Goodness gracious, man, my freaking mic. So yeah, like I was saying, like we can talk about how bad climate change is, so we're blue in the face. The complexity of it is still important to understand, but it's important to understand so we can then talk about solutions and how we can start taking action to get to those solutions. But it's not talked about it nearly enough. It's only like on channels like Derek Brose's The Conscious Resistance on Rockfin and on his website where people are talking about solutions. Well, Cory Morningstar exposes a lot of these things and says how we can change our lives as individuals. Franco, okay. Red Sea has a question about my guest from yesterday about Kavork Almasian. Yeah, I know about that stuff. Red Sea, thank you for sending that to Anthony, and who then sent me that information to me, and said, why do so many refer to Kavork when he tried to get Muslim refugees deported in Germany? Weird. There's a lot of like good faith people like Vanessa Beeley and Eva Bartlett who refer to Kavork and who recommended me to bring him on. Richard Medhurst had him on his show also. Max Blumenthal cites some of his work. I don't know. I would have to ask him about this. Like, has he changed? I can probably talk to some people like Vanessa in private and ask, like, did you know about this, or like have things changed? I really don't know. But yeah, I discovered more things because of the source that you sent, Anthony. So thank you for sending that. All right, guys, we can end it here. We're 2 hours and 41 minutes in. We had a good stream. We had a good talk. I love sitting down and talking to you guys. I love interacting with my audience. Like I said, this is like a testing ground to see what topics I can cover more in depth later on. And the best way you can support this show right now is if you donate to the GoFundMe or donate through the other links that I have in the description, and just let me know, hey, this is for your desktop that you're gonna buy. We're like almost halfway to the goal that we're trying to reach for the desktop. And I just want to let you guys know I appreciate you guys so much. I appreciate all the feedback I get from you guys. I appreciate you guys listening to me. I appreciate the patience, and I of course appreciate all the donations that you guys give. So yeah, take care, everybody. Don't forget to stay informed, and we'll do more live streams like this. And I'm excited to give you guys more coverage. Bye-bye.